Welcome, everybody. This is John with EB3.Work, and I'm here with Dara Lora, Dara
Hello.
Lora, the Director of Talent Management. And in this video, we're going to talk about the interview process with EB3.Work and the interview process with the employer, and hopefully give you some good tips, starting with
Absolutely.
how to prep your resume, all the way to, body language, energy, things like that. So
Absolutely.
let's start. So, Dara, can you introduce yourself and your role at EB3.Work?
So, like you said, my name's Dara Lora. It's a lot to say together. Little words, hard to say together. I'm the director of talent management. So I am kind of just the foundation of the what brings the talent in and talent to our employers. So my role is to just make sure that we connect great candidates with our most amazing employers.
Perfect. And what type of jobs are we talking about?
So most of our positions are unskilled positions, so entry level positions. A lot of them are in the hospitality industry, could be cleaning positions, truck driver positions, but mostly in the unskilled arena.
Perfect. And as most people know, some people don't know, we have a two-step interview process at EB3.Work. The first step is the EB3.Work interview with you. And the second one is the employer Zoom interview with the employer. What's the purpose of the first one, the EB3.Work interview?
So I always like to let the candidates know, your first interview with our talent team, where you get opportunity to meet with myself or someone from our team, is really just an opportunity to make sure this is a great fit. This program's a great fit for you, a great fit for our employers, kind of just to make sure that you're well prepared and have a good understanding of how the program works, and to make sure that you're ready to meet with our employers and you feel at ease.
Perfect. So before we go into the interview preparation, let's talk about resumes for a sec. What do you like and what do you want and need to see on a resume?
So, what I love to see on a resume, first and foremost, is a great photo. This lets us identify who you are, but it also lets our employer kind of meet you for the first time. So, have a nice photo, a nice smile, something that you would want to see when you meet someone. Really, just making sure it has accurate information where you're located, good contact information, your experience, whether related to the position or not. But if you have anything related to the position, even if it was a long time ago, go ahead and add it, but also having your education on there, but really just up to date with really clear information about who you are.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's move ahead to the EB3.Work interview, which happens after we receive your signed agreement. We send you a YouTube video about the position and then invite you to the EB3.Work interview. So what are some important things that applicants should know and maybe prepare for the EB3.Work interview?
Well, really make sure that one, you provided us with a great email that is working so that we can get all this information to you timely. We use Zoom. So I would say, test it out. Make sure you have a good microphone, a good working camera. It's very important that we can see and hear you, as well as making sure you're somewhere where you have good internet connection. A lot of times, that can be a problem or a concern, but just preparing yourself to meet on camera, that in itself is the best tip that I can say for that initial interview with our team, because it's pretty important.
Yeah, yeah, that is. So, for people that maybe are not so familiar with Zoom, do you suggest maybe they practice with a friend just so they're
Oh, yeah.
comfortable with the settings?
Absolutely, and it's a great way to just kind of get rid of the nerves, practicing on camera, just being able to, and we always say it's okay to prepare what you wanna say, but you wanna try never to read. You wanna make it as natural as possible, so where you can prepare, what you might say to us or to the employers, when you're meeting on Zoom, we just say, "Test out your equipment, practice with a friend, and just relax."
Perfect. And, um, people often get nervous, during the EB3.Work interview. Um, Sometimes they're not so confident in their English, although they're, as long as you can have a basic conversation, I would probably say, what do you think in terms of?
Yeah, and a lot of people, what we don't want is we don't want you to, get extra nervous, think overthinking. It's super it's a casual, informal way for us to get you prepared to start this great journey. So, I want you to, relax, be able to meet with me. We try to communicate in really using basic language. We don't use a lot of crazy words or things. We just want to have a brief conversation. So really try to relax your nerves, and then that will help itself. But yeah, just speak clearly, slowly. We're here to help. So just breathe, and we're here to support you.
Absolutely. And we're very excited to meet applicants for the first time. And just a side note, people asked us why is English required? Um, can you elaborate a little bit on why?
Absolutely. Well, it's important because when you're meeting with our employers for your interview, you only have some brief moments with them, and they'll be communicating in the English language. So it's very important that you're able to have a successful employer interview, and tell them who you are, about you, because it's really the only way, time that they have to get to know you. So that English is pretty critical for that piece, as well as when you get to your work location, the primary language that will be used is the English language.
Perfect. And then in terms of like the setup, does it matter if they're on a phone versus a laptop? Is lighting important?
Absolutely. We always recommend the testing out, especially for the employer. Find a nice, well lit area. You'll be on camera, so just have a nice shirt on, something that from the neck up, look very presentable. Test your camera, test your microphone. We recommend trying to do it on either like a tablet or a laptop, just because it's stationary. But if you're going to use your phone, we just say make sure you prop it somewhere so you're not moving it around. Be somewhere where you can have that stillness for about a minute or two.
Perfect. So in terms of questions that are asked, what type of questions can applicants expect during the EB3.Work interview?
So when you meet with our team, a lot of our questions are going to be based on just reviewing your resume, reviewing your application, seeing if you have any previous experience, whether required or not, having a better understanding of your current situation, to make sure that this program would be a good fit for you, because that's the most important piece. And just kind of getting a feel for who you are. So we'll be asking you questions about, where you're located, looking at your resume, asking you questions about that, and any kind of visa status that you currently have or have had. We'll probably be discussing that as well.
Right. And I know that, during the EB3.Work interview, we take a little more time and really answer every question that applicants have. And then so how does that let's segue to the employer interview. Um, Generally about how many people are on that Zoom call and about how much time does each applicant have to kind of introduce themselves?
So because our employers, they're super busy. Obviously, they're in this program because they're super busy. So, in an effort to save time, not just for the employers and for the candidates on the call, we do have, they're spaced out. We can have anywhere from 10 to 20 candidates on the interview at the same time. So what we tell our candidates, when you're getting ready to prepare for your employer interview, is you'll get about a minute with the employer to tell them about yourself, your strengths, to really show them who you are. So we just say prepare to you'll potentially be on the call for about 30 minutes, or more. So give yourself the time to be available in that window, on camera. But your time with the employer will last about a minute or two.
Perfect. And just out of respect for time for the others and the employer, about a minute and a half is really more than enough time to,
Absolutely.
uh, yeah, um, to introduce yourself. What about, for like a Dairy Queen position, what, and McDonald's, what are the employers kind of looking at in this during this employer interview?
We always tell our candidates, we know you're coming to us with a wealth of experience, possibly in a different industry, whether that be finance or IT. So, whether or not you have any previous experience in the food industry, what our employers are really looking for is your energy, your personality. They want to see when you get into their restaurant, it's all going to be about customers. So they really just want to get a feel for who you are, your energy. They maybe want to know, have you been to one of their restaurants before? Have you tried anything on their menu? Do you know anything about food industry or just customer service in general? And just giving them a smile, being able to present yourself in a way that lets them have that little minute of time where they can kind of get to know you.
Perfect. Yeah. I've never seen anybody that had a great smile and positive energy do poorly.
No, absolutely not.
So those that's great. And yeah, and like you said, if like you love, the Big Mac or the quarter pounder with cheese, which is my go-to, definitely share that. If you like ice cream and or blizzards for the Dairy Queen, definitely share like what's your favorite type of blizzard because
Absolutely.
that makes a great connection. Excellent. Yeah. So what advice would you give somebody if someone's just kind of naturally nervous or thinks they'll be nervous?
Practice, practice. I would say, it's very common to be nervous before any interview, and this is such a big deal. So we would say practice. If you don't have anyone to practice with, ask me. I'll practice with you. But I would just say, get yourself on camera. Be comfortable with yourself on camera. Try to, you can, like I said, it's no big deal to have something prepared in advance. You never want to be reading during an interview, but the more prepared you are in practice, the more successful you'll be.
Perfect. So I think we'll leave it at that. That was great advice. Thank you so much for taking the time and thanks people for watching. People, thank you everybody for watching and see you in the next video.
Absolutely.